shot there. Temperatures will be in the 40s on Friday with a
very warm welcome to Amishakil 5858. I am Amir Shackle. Following are the latest news headlines which have been reported by American, European, Canadian, Asian, African and Australian news channels and all other news agencies. So please, let's go to the news.
Tonight, breaking news. The FAA takes action to slow flights in and out of Newark Airport, disrupting traffic yet again at one of the busiest hubs in the Northeast. Hamas says it will free the last American hostage still believed to be alive in Gaza. And the White House claims it has made substantial progress in trade talks with China. First, for the fourth time in just 2 weeks, technical issues have disrupted operations at Newark Airport. The FAA ordering a 45-minute ground stop. What we know about what was behind the move, what the head of United, whose airline uses Newark as a hub, is saying tonight. Hamas says it will release 21-year-old Edon Alexander, a New Jersey native and dual Israeli-American citizen, abducted in the October 7th attacks. What we are just learning. The high-stakes trade talks between the U.S. and China, the agreement the Trump administration says it has reached after 2 days of marathon meetings. And a look at President Trump's new floating palace in the sky, a gift sources say is from Qatar's royal family. Selena Wang from the White House. Pope Leo on the world stage, his message of peace, calling for an end to the wars in Gaza and Ukraine, as Presidents Putin and Zelensky are set to meet. James Longman from Vatican City. Here at home, a deadly collision between a packed bus and an SUV forces the closure of a freeway near Los Angeles. At least one person is dead, dozens more hurt, some critically. What authorities are saying. The new CDC investigation concerning a listeria outbreak tied to ready-to-eat foods. An emotional plea from a Houston Astros all-star and the death threats he received after struggling on the mound. The new rule about so-called junk fees for concert tickets and lodging that goes into effect tomorrow. What you should know. And America's strong on this Mother's Day, celebrating the women in our lives who make it all happen, including one of our own.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York. And we're back with a Fox News alert. President Trump just announced it on Truth Social that prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices will be reduced by 30 to 80% almost immediately. This appears to be the major announcement that the president has been teasing for days. He plans to sign an executive order tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., so that's news ahead of all the other news that we've already been talking about for tomorrow. Monday's going to be a busy day. The president's saying on Truth, Molly, I will be instituting a most favored nation policy whereby the United States will pay the same price as the nation that pays the lowest price anywhere in the world. It's an interesting move for the White House.
It is, and that is kind of about trade. At the same time, he's also been talking about expanding the ability to make drugs here, making that easier for companies to be able to do that, and companies to build, and drug companies to build, and factories to build, and to bring some of that home as well. And then also, not to forget, we're expecting some sort of announcement related to China. I don't know if that all gets woven into this or not, Lydia, but your thoughts?
I was thinking the same thing, because a lot of our active ingredients for our pharmaceutical drugs come from places like China and from India as well. So I was wondering, I had the same thought, I wonder if some of this China deal is also addressing where our pharmaceutical ingredients are coming from and having to do something to do with, reshoring or giving us better access or more transparent access to those critically needed ingredients. I also have another thought too, is I wonder if he's addressing the pharmacy benefit managers. We've heard a lot about them in the news, but those are kind of like the intermediary players that broker access to drugs between hospitals and pharmacies from the drug makers. There have been a lot of questions about their role and how pricing is set for access for Americans. Maybe he's addressing that. That's been a big issue as well. So we'll have to wait and see till tomorrow.
Listen, I think the most important thing in the drug world is the generic drugs, getting generic versions of drugs out to the market as quickly as possible. I don't understand the crazy drug pricing. It doesn't make any sense to me. Sometimes I'm not taking any drugs right now. I have no prescriptions, but anytime that I've gone over prescriptions with my doctor, they say, well, there's this thing, and then you look at the cost, and you say, that's a crazy price of a drug, and then there's some other drug that you might need, and it's like, 11 cents. And I don't understand how it's done. It's all very Byzantine. I think most people get confused by this kind of thing. Hopefully, the good news from Trump is just that, good news.
All right, well, we'll see what happens tomorrow. It's going to be a busy Monday in Trump world.
Breaking news, news out of the Middle East, with Hamas saying it's ready to release the last living American hostage. Tonight, White House officials confirming Idan Alexander could be freed as soon as tomorrow. We're following late developments and what this could mean for the future of the war in Gaza. New outages triggering travel headaches at two of the biggest airports in the country, ground stops at Newark and Atlanta. The ripple effect nationwide and the dramatic warning from the Transportation Secretary tonight. Questions now about a possible trade deal between the U.S. and China. The White House hinting at a big announcement that might help your budget's bottom line. And the controversial gift the White House appears ready to accept from the Qatari royal family, a luxury plane to be the new Air Force One. Ukraine accepting Russia's offer for direct talks to try to end the war. So does this mean peace could be in sight? And we're at the Vatican as Pope Leo delivers a special Mother's Day message at St. Peter's.
John, what's it like to look out there and see your brother?
Unreal. You know, a tremendous sense of pride.
In Lester Holt's interview with the new Pope's brother. Shop class making a comeback while more students are signing up for a more hands-on experience.
Welcome to the Delilah Show.
And the radio voice we all know by just one name, Delilah.
We need a lot of hope, we need a lot of faith, we need a lot of joy. And so I love to share that at night.
The mother on a mission to spread comfort to millions.
This is NBC Nightly News with Hallie Jackson.
We are coming on the air with the last living
On this Sunday night, a one-vote victory flips the seat. The Liberal candidate in Terrebonne, Quebec, wins by a thread in a judicial recount.
It feels amazing, and I'm just ready to get to work, actually.
What it could mean for the House of Commons going forward. Face-to-face, the Ukrainian president agrees to meet with the Russian president for peace talks in Turkey. But will Putin show up?
L'immane tragedia della Seconda Guerra
The
Mondiale.
new Pope's first Sunday blessing and a call for an end to all wars. And leaving home.
I just don't want to spend the rest of my life in a country that's going backwards.
One U.S. couple's decision to move to Canada and why they aren't alone.
Global National reporting
Tonight on PBS News Weekend, Pope Leo XIV calls for peace in Gaza and Ukraine and an end to war in the first Sunday address of his papacy. Then, one woman's mission to help save endangered cheetahs, the fastest land animal on the planet. And a new book explores the shared experiences of 4 women from around the world as they navigate their first year as mothers.
The woman in Nairobi, Kenya, and the woman in Salt Lake City, Utah, said almost verbatim the same thing, which was, I can't believe I'm someone's mom now.
Tonight, travel trouble this Mother's Day at 2 of the largest airports in the country.
Something has to be done.
The FAA issuing ground stops at airports in Newark and Atlanta. Flights delayed by equipment issues.
I'm Chanel Call at Newark Liberty International, where the problems at one of the nation's busiest airports are intense safety fears and political pressure to fix them.
Also tonight, jumbo gift. President Trump is getting this luxury 747 from Qatar to use as Air Force One.
I'm Willie James Inman at the White House. The possible big gift is sounding ethical alarms just as President Trump gets ready to head to the Middle East.
Plus,
Buona domenica.
Pope Leo XIV offers his first Sunday blessing.
I'm Chris Lipsey in Rome, where Pope Leo's every move is under a microscope to understand what kind of Pope he's going to be.
The faithful here celebrating the first American Pope.
I was so proud to be an American. I'm Omar Villafranca in Fort Worth, Texas, where U.S. Catholics are optimistic about the new Pope's leadership.
Severe storms pound the southeast, reported tornadoes tearing through Florida. CBS's Andrew Kozak with the forecast and what you need to know. And later, a San Francisco all-star. If you live on this trash collector's route, you already know you're witnessing a master at work.
Help keeping San Francisco clean. Can't ask for more than that.
This is the CBS Weekend News from New York with Jerika Duncan. Liberté, égalité, actualité.
Hello and a very warm welcome. If you're just joining us, you're watching Daybreak here on France 24. These are the headlines.
Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky calls on Russia's Vladimir Putin to meet him in person for talks, pitched to bypass diplomatic groups after Moscow rejected a call for a ceasefire but said it was ready to enter negotiations. Hamas says it will release a US-Israeli hostage as a goodwill gesture it hopes will lead to truce talks and the lifting of a blockade on Gaza. Israel, however, says it hasn't signed up to any form of ceasefire and that any pause would be negotiated under fire. 10 more people killed in Gaza this morning, according to the Civil Defense Agency there. And Washington hurls it as a new deal, China remaining more cautious, but both sides announced progress in reducing the trade tensions and taxes between the world's two biggest economies.
This is Asia Now.
It's 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 in Delhi, 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Paul Sloat. At this hour, voting underway in the Philippines midterm elections, where more than 18,000 seats are up for grabs. The polls widely seen as a proxy battle between President Ferdinand Marcos and his deputy Sara Duterte. Top military officers from India and Pakistan to meet today for talks as a gradual ceasefire appears to hold between the two sides. Tensions have eased along the disputed border, with both countries saying communication lines remain open. The US and China say trade talks have made substantial progress. This is the latest sign that relations between the world's two largest economies are cooling, but both sides agree more discussions are needed.
Michelle Rowland named as Attorney General and Tanya Plibersek shifted to Social Services in the Prime Minister's reshuffled ministry.
I've got people who are, I think, in the best positions, and that's across the board.
As the Nationals gather to vote in a leadership showdown between Matt Canavan and David Littleproud. Also ahead, Ukraine's president challenges his Russian counterpart to meet face-to-face for peace talks. Hamas announces the imminent release of an American-Israeli hostage in efforts to secure a ceasefire deal with Israel. And hardware chain Bunnings accused of shutting down competition and squeezing suppliers. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Catherine Robinson. The Prime Minister... Good morning, everyone. It's 6 o'clock, our top story. The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, promises to tighten up every area of the immigration system. He's expected to give a statement in Downing Street at 8:30 this morning. We'll bring it to you live. Absolutely will. It's Monday, the 12th of May coming up. The Prime Minister is expected to say this morning that new arrivals to the UK must learn English. The government will also stop care homes recruiting new staff from abroad. They say it's a crushing blow to a sector that's already struggling. Also ahead, Hamas agrees to release Israeli-American hostage Idan Alexander from Gaza. Oh my gosh, you look like a totally different person. It's unbelievable. Sky News hears how probation services in Preston are transforming lives while keeping offenders out of prison.
Never offended, haven't offended, off methadone, off all drugs, got all my family back.
And we'll show you how Arsenal came back from 2 goals down to draw with Premier League champions Liverpool. Good morning, everyone. Great to have you with us. Well, the Prime Minister is...
This is GB News, the People's Channel. This is British Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
Bringing a unique perspective to won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
British Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletin is here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Minister declares Britain's experiment with open borders has failed.
Well, requirements in English language and an ECHR crackdown and a longer route to residency are amongst the government's tall orders.
But can Labour deliver the message to migrants that living in the UK is a privilege and not a right?
Change the law. The people of this nation did that, and they've shown in their response to the post office that we cannot abide liars and bullies.
Mr. Bates versus the post office. That was at the BAFTAs TV Awards last night, and they won big, as well as Gavin and Stacey, Ruth Jones.
I'm not going to lie, this is immense. I wasn't expecting to win, there's no way.
Yes, it was the biggest night in British television last night. Mr. Bates won big, but it wasn't great for the traitors. I'll have all the latest later in the show.
History in the making. Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky offers to meet Russia's Vladimir Putin in person as soon as Thursday.
A crisis in pensioner poverty. We're talking about this today because there's an epidemic of elderly supermarket shoplifting since the Chancellor's cuts to winter fuel payments.
Almost half of us say we trust our partner with money matters more than anyone else. So we're asking this morning, should couples combine their finances? We're debating that in 20 minutes.
And from dad bod to abs and a six-pack. Don't miss our interview later with the man who went on a radical diet to transform his body in just 4 weeks. His wife didn't like it though.
Thunder and lightning is in the forecast for some of us as we kick off this new week. I'll have all the details later, whether you're likely to see any.
But it can still be great weather and thunder lightnings caused by heat.
And pressure.
And pressure, under pressure. I'm Eamon Holmes, good morning to you.
I'm Ellie Costello and this is GB News Breakfast.
Mounting international pressure and renewed calls for peace. President Vladimir Putin has proposed restarting direct talks with Ukraine in Istanbul without preconditions. The offer follows a united appeal by Western leaders for an immediate ceasefire. Negotiations were necessary from the very beginning, but it seems to me that the Ukrainian side will not agree to such negotiations, well, because they are aggressively disposed, like the entire West. Putin's remarks delivered early Sunday referenced the failed 2022 Russian Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky welcomed the gesture, calling for that full ceasefire must come first. With drone attacks resuming, hopes for peace remain fragile despite diplomatic commitment. The US says a new aid delivery system for Gaza will launch very soon. Ambassador Mike Huckabee, speaking from Israel, said the plan is meant to address the worsening humanitarian crisis in the territory and ensure that assistance reaches those most in need. According to the ambassador, the system will involve a coalition of non-profits, aid organizations and governments. But Israel is set to oversee the aid secure delivery, a move already sparking backlash. Critics say the plan will allow Israel to control who receives assistance, raising fears of politicization. Israel has long accused Hamas of seizing aid, using that as justification for its blockade on Gaza. Although the US has invited UN agencies to take part, many humanitarian groups are hesitant, saying they'll only join efforts that align with international humanitarian standards. A new discovery about Pope Leo XIV is striking a chord in New Orleans. His last name, Prevost, caught the attention of local genealogist Jerry Honora, who followed the trail through 19th century archives. What he found, the Pope's maternal ancestors were part of Louisiana's community of free people of color, a reflection of the region's Creole heritage, shaped by French, Spanish, African, and Native American roots.
And for the Black Catholic community, I think that it shows just the depths of our heritage of faith that goes all the way back to the 16th century, even here in North America, both in freedom and enslavement.
The revelation adds a new dimension to conversations about identity, heritage, and the often complex choices families made to navigate race and status in America.
The idea that in America, people felt they had to escape their authenticity to be able to survive. So it's a story of blacks who went north and, quote, passed for white, or went west and passed for white. But it's also a story of Jewish Americans who felt they had to change their name and pretend to not be Jewish to be accepted professionally.
For some, the Pope's story is a reminder of both cultural pride and sacrifices many made to find acceptance in a divided society.
The wild open landscapes of Spain have been home to Osama Rouimi since he was 7 years old, when his family came here from Morocco looking for a better future. In Spain, he also discovered Muay Thai fighting. Often known as Thai boxing, it's a martial art that allows fighters to punch and kick and use their knees and elbows.
It's been 10 years since I took up this sport. I started with football, but I had a friend who practiced this sport, and I used to enjoy watching him training. Then I joined him in training. I like it. Since then, this sport has become my life in the end.
Since taking up the sport, Rouimi has won 3 professional titles, 2 of them in Thailand, the birthplace of this martial art. For now, he competes under the Spanish flag.
To be honest, I would love to represent Morocco, my country, and the country of my parents and forefathers. But I live here in Spain, and I don't have the opportunity to go to Morocco and join the national team.
Rouimi's next challenge will be the Muay Thai World Championship that's set to take place in Verona, Italy in June.
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shackle 5858. I am Amir Shackle. Have a good life. Bye-bye.